From the cold halls of Hogwarts to the battle between light and darkness, Harry Potter was not just a fantasy film series, it was the childhood of an entire generation. Released in 2001, the movies turned unknown young actors into global icons, but behind the fame were pressures, personal struggles, and untold secrets. Today, let's look back at the legendary stars of Harry Potter then and now. Number 1, Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, the boy with the round glasses who stepped out from platform 9 3/4 that year, became a cinematic icon for an entire generation. In 2001, when Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone premiered, Daniel Radcliffe was only 12 years old, carrying a youthful face but eyes filled with loneliness perfectly matching the spirit of Harry Potter. The orphan forced to live under the stairs at the Dursleys' house before discovering he was the most famous wizard in the world. In the films, Harry was not only fighting Voldemort, but also battling fear, betrayal, and the constant pain of losing the people he loved most. From the breathtaking first Quidditch match, the confrontation with Professor Quirrell in the Chamber of the Sorcerer's Stone, to the heartbreaking Horcrux hunt years later, Daniel made audiences grow up alongside the character. The role stood out because Harry was never perfect. He was impulsive, emotional, and often overwhelmed by despair. Yet he still chose to rise in the darkness. After the franchise ended, Daniel tried to escape Harry's shadow with bizarre and daring roles in films like Swiss Army Man and Weird the Al Yankovic Story. But behind the spotlight, he later admitted to struggling with severe alcoholism during the final years of Harry Potter due to the crushing pressure of worldwide fame and losing control of his young life. The actor was never involved in major criminal scandals, but he spent years battling emotional crises while being relentlessly chased by the media. Now, at 36 years old, Daniel Radcliffe has become a father and is still forever remembered as the boy who lived of world cinema. Number 2, Emma Watson as Hermione Granger. Some female characters exist only to stand behind the hero, but Hermione Granger was different. From the very moment the curly-haired girl stepped into the Hogwarts train compartment and fixed Harry's glasses with magic, Emma Watson transformed Hermione into the intellectual soul of the entire franchise. In 2001, Emma was only 11 years old when she joined Harry Potter, with almost no professional acting experience before it. Yet her sharp intelligence and powerful presence turned Hermione into one of the most iconic female characters of the last 2 decades. In the films, Hermione was always the one saving the group from danger, solving the mystery of Fluffy, secretly brewing Polyjuice Potion, helping Harry and Ron escape Devil's Snare, and later joining Harry on the brutal Horcrux hunt during the Wizarding War. Unlike the weak female leads common at the time, Hermione represented intelligence, loyalty, and cold-blooded courage. As Emma grew older, the character gained even deeper emotional layers, especially in the final films when Hermione erased her parents' memories to protect them from Voldemort, one of the most heartbreaking moments in the Harry Potter franchise. After the films, Emma became a global feminist icon, graduated from Brown University, and actively supported the United Nations He-for-She campaign. However, her personal life was also heavily scrutinized by the media, with endless relationship rumors, image pressure, and long periods where she nearly disappeared from Hollywood due to exhaustion from fame. There were no drug scandals or criminal controversies, but Emma admitted she often felt lonely and lost because she became famous far too young. Today, at 35 years old, Emma Watson still reflects Hermione in real-life intelligent, private, and remarkably strong. Number 3, Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley. Among brilliant wizards and world-changing prophecies, Ron Weasley was always the most ordinary boy, and perhaps the character audiences related to most in the magical world. In 2001, Rupert Grint was 13 years old when he landed the role of Ron after sending a funny rap audition tape. His messy red hair, awkward smile, and confused expressions quickly made Ron one of the franchise's most beloved characters. In the films, Ron was never the smartest or the strongest, but he was always the emotional heart of the trio. From the giant wizard chess match where Ron sacrificed himself so Harry could continue forward, to facing giant spiders despite his terrifying fear of them, Ron embodied deeply human loyalty. He envied Harry at times, abandoned the Horcrux mission out of despair, but always returned when his friends needed him most. Those flaws made Ron feel more real than almost any heroic figure. After Harry Potter, Rupert Grint never reached the same level of fame as Daniel or Emma, but audiences continued to love him for his quiet and simple lifestyle. He invested in real estate, worked on television series, and stayed away from glamorous Hollywood culture. However, Rupert later admitted he struggled with severe feelings of emptiness after Harry Potter ended because his entire childhood had been tied to a single role. The press repeatedly spread rumors of conflicts with co-stars, and he experienced emotional struggles while trying to find direction in his career. Though he was never involved in major legal or addiction scandals, Rupert confessed that fame frightened him for many years. Now at 37 years old, Rupert Grint is a father and remains forever Hogwarts' best friend in the memories of millions of fans. Number 4. Richard Harris as Albus Dumbledore. Some people only need a few minutes on screen to make the entire world believe magic is real. In Harry Potter, Richard Harris was that soul. In 2001, when he first portrayed Albus Dumbledore in the opening film, he was already 71 years old, bringing with him a deep, raspy voice and eyes that felt both kind and mysteriously haunted by countless battles. Harris's version of Dumbledore was not an extravagant wizard, but more like a lonely old man quietly watching Harry Potter's fate from a distance. From the moment he handed Harry the Sorting Hat, standing inside the Great Hall with the Elder Wand, to the haunting conversation about the Mirror of Erised, Richard Harris created a version of Dumbledore filled with rare fairy tale melancholy. In Chamber of Secrets in 2002, he continued guiding Hogwarts through darkness as students were mysteriously petrified and Harry began facing Voldemort's dangerous legacy. Harris's performance stood out because he turned Dumbledore into a true spiritual father figure without needing loud speeches or displays of overwhelming power. But in real life, Richard Harris lived a life nearly as chaotic as the movies themselves. Long before Harry Potter, he was infamous for severe alcoholism, violent fights, reckless spending, and a turbulent love life that nearly destroyed his career. He damaged his health so badly with alcohol that many colleagues believed he would not live long. Because of that, Harris viewed the role of Dumbledore in his later years as a final opportunity to leave behind something beautiful for younger audiences. In October 2002, Richard Harris died from Hodgkin's disease at age 72 shortly after Chamber of Secrets was completed. And for many fans, he remains the kindest Dumbledore in Harry Potter history. Number 5. Maggie Smith as Minerva McGonagall. Within the ancient stone walls of Hogwarts, there was one woman whose mere glance could silence both students and teachers instantly. That was Maggie Smith's Minerva McGonagall, a woman of steel hiding a deeply loving heart beneath her cold discipline. In 2001, when Harry Potter premiered, Maggie Smith was already 67 years old and considered a British acting legend long before entering the wizarding world. Yet Harry Potter turned her into an icon for an entirely new generation. In the films, McGonagall was always Hogwarts' protector through discipline and unwavering loyalty. From leading Harry to his first Quidditch match, confronting Snape with suspicious eyes, to the final battle where she animated hundreds of stone statues to defend the school. Maggie Smith gave every appearance both authority and emotional weight. Her character stood out because McGonagall was not simply a strict professor, she represented quiet courage. Someone willing to stand on the front lines even knowing she could lose everything. In real life, Maggie Smith also endured battles far from easy. She fought breast cancer while filming Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, undergoing chemotherapy while continuing to shoot scenes in a state of exhaustion. Her first marriage to Robert Stevens collapsed under career pressure and deeply personal crises. Though she was never linked to addiction or criminal scandals, Maggie became famous for her difficult temperament, sharp tongue, and intense perfectionism that caused tension behind the scenes many times. Yet those same qualities created the irreplaceable presence she carried on screen. In September 2024, Maggie Smith passed away at age 89, leaving an enormous void in British cinema. And for millions of viewers, Professor McGonagall will forever stand inside the Great Hall of Hogwarts. Wand raised proudly, her fierce eyes never fading. Number 6, Robbie Coltrane as Rubeus Hagrid. If Harry Potter was the boy who entered the magical world, then Hagrid was the one who opened the door for him. In 2001, Robbie Coltrane was 51 years old when he first appeared with his enormous beard and worn coat as Rubeus Hagrid. The very moment he burst through the shack door in the middle of the stormy sea and said, "You're a wizard." Harry. It felt as if the world of cinema had been reborn through magic itself. In the films, Hagrid was never a perfect wizard. He was clumsy, emotional, and constantly caused trouble because he trusted people too easily. But he also loved Harry unconditionally from the very beginning. Hagrid brought Harry to Hogwarts, cared for dangerous magical creatures, risked his life to protect Buckbeak, and suffered deeply when the Ministry of Magic insulted him because of his giant bloodline. Beneath his enormous appearance was an incredibly lonely soul, constantly judged with suspicion by the wizarding world. Robbie Coltrane transformed the character into the emotional heart of Harry Potter with his warm voice and eyes that always looked close to tears. In real life, his struggles were far from easy. Robbie battled alcoholism for many years and suffered serious health problems caused by long-term obesity. His marriage ended after years of tension, and in the final years of his life, he endured severe physical pain from bone and joint disease that left him barely able to walk normally. Even so, he continued appearing before the public with his signature humor, always describing Harry Potter as the greatest gift of his life. In October 2022, Robbie Coltrane passed away at age 72. During the final Harry Potter reunion, he emotionally said that maybe he would not still be here in 50 years, but Hagrid would remain forever. And he was right. Number 7, Alan Rickman as Severus Snape. No one at Hogwarts walked through darkness more than Severus Snape, and no one forced audiences to spend nearly a decade discovering the truth inside his heart quite like him. In 2001, Alan Rickman was 55 years old when he first wore the long black robes and stepped into the potions classroom with eyes so cold the entire Great Hall seemed to fall silent. From the very first film, Snape was portrayed as the most terrifying figure at Hogwarts, constantly threatening Harry, favoring Slytherin, and seemingly hiding something deeply dangerous. But as the story unfolded, the character became one of the greatest tragedies of Harry Potter. Snape had loved Lily Potter his entire life, was haunted by her death, and agreed to live as a double agent under Voldemort while constantly facing the risk of execution. Alan Rickman made every line spoken by Snape feel like a blade cutting through the air, cold, slow, yet filled with unbearable pain. The famous Always scene transformed Snape into one of the most iconic characters in cinematic history. In real life, Alan Rickman was completely different from his frightening on-screen image. He was known for his politeness, privacy, and almost total avoidance of Hollywood scandals for decades. However, his youth was marked by insecurity caused by poverty and the early death of his father, which pushed his family into financial hardship. Rickman also rejected many blockbuster films because of his frustration with Hollywood's commercial system. Though he never struggled with addiction or romantic scandals, Alan was known for extreme perfectionism that sometimes created heavy pressure behind the scenes. During the final years of his life, he secretly battled pancreatic cancer without publicly revealing much about his condition. In January 2016, Alan Rickman passed away at age 69. But for millions of fans, Severus Snape still stands there forever, in the cold, dark hallways of Hogwarts, carrying a love that never died. Number 8, Tom Felton as Draco Malfoy. From the smirking smile on the Hogwarts platform to the trembling eyes during the final battle with Voldemort, Draco Malfoy was never truly a complete villain, and Tom Felton was the reason the character became so painfully human. In 2001, Tom was only 14 years old when he was cast as the arrogant platinum-haired heir of the Malfoy family. In the early films, Draco constantly opposed Harry Potter, mocking Ron's poverty, insulting Hermione for her Muggle heritage, and endlessly trying to prove the superiority of pure-blood wizards. But beneath the arrogance was a child raised inside a family built on fear, where Lucius Malfoy controlled his son through intimidation. When Voldemort returned, Draco slowly became a pawn forced to grow up too quickly. The heartbreaking scene of him crying alone in the bathroom before the mission to assassinate Dumbledore revealed an entirely different Draco, frightened, fragile, and trapped between good and evil. After Harry Potter, Tom Felton continued acting but never fully escaped Draco's shadow in real life. He endured years of emotional crisis due to declining fame and long-term psychological pressure. In his memoir Beyond the Wand, Tom admitted to abusing alcohol, losing control of his life, and eventually entering rehab because of his deteriorating mental state. He was also relentlessly pursued by the media because of constant romance rumors involving Emma Watson for more than a decade. Though never involved in legal or violent scandals, Tom openly admitted he often felt lonely and unsuccessful after the franchise ended. Today, at 38 years old, Tom Felton still appears at Harry Potter events with the same familiar smile, as if Draco Malfoy never truly left Hogwarts. Number 9. Julie Walters as Molly Weasley. In the world of Harry Potter filled with deadly curses and brutal magical battles, Molly Weasley became unforgettable to audiences because of her hugs. In 2001, Julie Walters was 51 years old when she first appeared as the red-haired mother constantly rushing through King's Cross Station. Without complicated magic or glamorous battle scenes, Molly quickly became the symbol of motherhood throughout the franchise. She cared for Harry like her own son, knitted sweaters for him every Christmas, and fiercely defended her family with astonishing strength, especially during the final battle of Hogwarts. The moment Molly screamed, "Not my daughter, you bitch," before defeating Bellatrix, Lestrange became one of the most celebrated scenes in Harry Potter history. Julie Walters transformed Molly into the perfect combination of warmth and fierce determination, making every viewer wish they could spend at least one day inside the Weasley family kitchen. But in real life, Julie's life was far from peaceful. Before becoming famous, she endured periods of poverty and emotional breakdowns caused by years of professional pressure. The media repeatedly spread rumors about her marriage collapsing under demanding work schedules, while Julie herself was forced to battle bowel cancer diagnosed in 2018. She admitted there were moments when her fear of death became so overwhelming that she wanted to abandon acting entirely. Though she was never connected to addiction or legal scandals, Julie became known for her fiery temper and frequent arguments with production crews because of her brutally honest personality. Today, at 76 years old, Julie Walters has largely stepped away from cinema to live quietly with her family. But for Harry Potter fans, Molly Weasley will always remain the mother of Hogwarts, stronger than any magic. Number 10. Ian Hart as Professor Quirinus Quirrell. Some villains arrive like violent nightmares, but Quirinus Quirrell entered Harry Potter as a trembling, fragile, almost pitiful man. In 2001, Ian Hart was 37 years old when he portrayed the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor hiding beneath a mysterious turban. At first, Quirrell appeared timid, stuttering, and terrified of nearly everything around him. But as the story progressed, the character became increasingly horrifying when audiences discovered that Voldemort was literally living on the back of his head. The contrast between cowardice on the surface and terrifying darkness underneath turned Quirrell into the first major twist of the entire Harry Potter franchise. During the final confrontation, Quirrell became a desperate, nearly insane man trying to steal the Sorcerer's Stone from Harry before his body disintegrated under the power of a mother's love. Ian Hart gave the character a tragic quality rather than portraying him as a simple villain, a man completely consumed by obsession with power. After Harry Potter, Ian continued working steadily in British film and television while avoiding Hollywood fame. Unlike many of his co-stars, he chose a private life and rarely appeared in major entertainment scandals. However, Ian admitted to experiencing long periods of emotional exhaustion caused by career pressure and constantly portraying dark characters. He also publicly criticized the cruelty of the film industry toward older actors without major celebrity status. Though never involved in addiction, infidelity, or legal controversies, Ian Hart has always been viewed as one of Britain's most solitary actors, someone willing to stand outside the spotlight in order to protect his private life. Today, at 62 years old, he continues acting quietly, much like Professor Quirrell himself, a man who disappeared too quickly inside an enormous magical world. As the lights of Hogwarts slowly faded after more than 2 decades, the children from that era have now grown old, and many have already left this world forever. But Harry Potter was never only about magic. It was childhood, memory, and the people who sacrificed their youth to create an irreplaceable cinematic legend.